It's time for Lefties Losing It, and we will get back to the demented left's latest round of riots shortly. But first, the Tony Awards were on overnight. You didn't know, neither did I, until this dude caught my eye on the red carpet. Stunning and brave. That's Cole Escola, who beat out the likes of George Clooney and John Michael Hill to win the Tony for Best Leading Actor. And the media were, of course, keen to trumpet the fact that he was the first openly non-binary artist to win Leading Actor. Yes, a groundbreaking night, and the publications were also keen to mangle the English language to respect Escola's they-them pronouns. USA Today reported they are now the first non-binary performer to win in that Tony category. I mean, are they multiple people? It was a piece just rendered nonsensical with deliberate grammar crimes. And let's not forget the non-binary dude here says he prefers they-them pronouns, but was nevertheless very happy to be nominated and win the very gendered Best Leading Actor award.
I want to thank the other nominees, George and John and Harry and Daniel and Louis. It's an honor to be in your company. The most important people in my life, my friends who are here tonight, Jeffrey, Jen, Ben, everyone watching at home, Christian, Dakota, the whole gang, John, Claudia, and Tebow from Grindr.
Can't forget Tebow from Grindr. He's fun. Less fun is this duo, the queens of performative caring, as Douglas Murray would call them. And gosh, don't they love each other, or at least they pretend to. Get your buckets ready. This is nausea-inducing.
This woman has been a heroine, a hero for me for so many years. I've admired her from afar, and this is the first time I've had the opportunity to sit down and have a conversation, because she's written a book called A Different Kind of Power. And I love that you call it that, because the different kind of power is kindness.
Absolutely. It's all those things that you think are weaknesses or are taught are weaknesses. Yeah. Empathy, sensitivity, self-doubt and humility. They're powerful.
What I admire is that you're a prime minister and you made a decision that I am going to have kindness as a principle for my administration.
Told you it was gross, but we'll get through it together. It's okay. What did Jacinda Ardern say there? She's all about kindness, empathy, sensitivity, self-doubt and humility. Yeah. Just like this.
Breaking the rules could kill someone close to you.
Maintain compliance, and there will be spot checks in place.
For anyone who is not vaccinated right now, unless you choose to be, you will not be able to enjoy the freedoms of other New Zealanders. If you don't comply with the rules, you run the risk of forcing us to extend the period of lockdown.
For that information, do feel free to visit at any time to clarify any rumour you may hear. covid19.govt.nz. Otherwise, dismiss anything else. We will continue to be your single source of truth.
Single source of truth. Jacinda's truth, not the truth. Yes, the former Prime Minister of New Zealand, who imposed some of the most illiberal, inhumane lockdowns anywhere in the world. She even banned pregnant New Zealand women from returning home, even from a war zone. This poor lass had to seek help from the Taliban because Jacinda Ardern was too busy playing the media's favourite leftist darling to take care of her own citizens. She's a leader who preaches about love, tolerance and kindness, but oversaw the rise of huge societal problems in New Zealand, from homelessness to race relations. Remember when she promised shelter for every homeless New Zealander? But because she's an inept clown and not really interested in exercising kindness or sound policy, the problem exploded under her watch. Just a couple of years after that promise, well, there were record numbers waiting for public housing. Record. And that was before COVID hit. Well done, Jacinda. A hero, Oprah called her. No, not a hero, a terrible leader who made life harder for ordinary New Zealanders, and he quit before they could boot her out. But here she is with Oprah, rewriting history.
Did you have a kindness gathering, a kindness meeting?
Do you know, we'd spent a lot of time looking at what was, happening in New Zealand, and it's not just about what you do when you're in government, it's about the way you do it. And I felt we'd lost that humanity, that we were there to serve people, and kindness was a really simple way to embody that. So no, we definitely didn't do a huddle, we didn't workshop it. It was instinctive, but I think it was what we needed at the time, and I think it's what the world needs right now as well.
I do too. A different kind of power.
I need that bucket. Now to LA, where the mostly peaceful protests continue. And as you saw there, they continue to fly the Mexican flag. They loot, burn and riot and keep waving that flag. And they're still burning the American flag. They're not only burning the American flag, but they are spitting on it, just vile anti-American crims, destructive crims. And if you want to know why the National Guard was called in, well, it may have something to do with cops being attacked like this.
Get down! Get down!
Oh! He got oh my God, he got
Yeah, that looks like attempted murder, but the Mayor, Karen Bass, is more concerned with ICE. She wants immigration officials to stop doing their job.
Administration, and if you could speak to them, what would you say right now?
I would say stop the raids. Stop the raids, period. I would say give the power back to our governor, and if we need the National Guard, we can do it in their normal circumstances, which is the request is made local and the governor decides or not to grant that to our city.
And it's not just the mayor. Democrats across the US are disgracing themselves by standing with the lawless thugs rather than the rule of law. Here's Democrat Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal.
Donald Trump calling out the National Guard unconstitutionally, illegally, without the governor's authorized approval. As Jaime said, that's something that has not happened since 1965. And it's hard to imagine that this time the National Guard were sent out to attack protesters that were exercising their constitutional obligation.
Constitutional obligation. Yes, she said that. These people are nuts and they are determined to lose. This issue is a loser for the Democrats every day of the week and twice on Sundays. But Congresswoman Jayapal wants to see more of this craziness. It's apparently good for the country.
It is actually in the interest of all American people to stand up for these rights. They know that dividing us is what will make them strong.
She's as mad as a cut snake, and so is this dude, Senator Chris Murphy.
And obviously, this is a moment where we have to be on the streets all over the country to protest what's happening to our immigrant community, but more broadly to protest what's happening to our democracy. This is the most corrupt administration in the history of the country, and we are going to rise to this moment by being out there on the streets. But ultimately, I think the country sees what Donald Trump is trying to do here. He's looking for a fight. There's nothing in what he is doing that is about peace or about restoring order.
Donald Trump started the fight? Was he the one who told these thugs to attack police, burn cars, loot stores, riot across LA? And Trump's called in the National Guard not to restore order, but to continue the fight. Genius work there from the Democrat on MSNBC. Why don't you try saying that to LAPD Chief Jim McDonnell, who fears cops will lose their lives in this violence?
This violence that I've seen is disgusting. It's escalated now since the beginning of this incident. What we saw the first night was bad. What we've seen subsequent to that is getting increasingly worse and more violent. Tonight we had individuals out there shooting commercial-grade fireworks at our officers. That can kill you. and we have adapted our tactics to be able to have a chance to be able to take these people into custody and to be able to hold them accountable.
Let's bring in Sky News contributor Kosha Gator. Kosha, the Democrats are playing with fire here, excuse the pun, but this is just dangerous territory for them.
It really is. The shift in public support for getting illegal immigrants out, and especially criminal illegal immigrants, which is where the administration's focus is and where those initial people in LA were apprehended, has been unlike anything I've seen in terms of just even 8-10 years ago, the public support was not there, and how it has completely shifted by double digits in the column of get these people out, because you don't have a country if you just allow rampant illegal immigration, criminal or otherwise. So it is losing. The only thing I can think of is Chris Murphy, senator from Connecticut, Pramila Jayapal from the state of Washington. These are very blue, sapphire blue states, and maybe they still believe that their constituency over there responds to these comments, like, I'm here to defend democracy and we're all in this together, and that's why they're doing that. But when you look at just the global or the national picture, it doesn't make sense, and I think they're going to pay a price.
I think they are, and what you said is 100% accurate. The polls show that Donald Trump is on solid ground when it comes to his immigration policy and the deportation plan as well. Let's check in with CNN for the latest data. This must have hurt.
If we just take a look at the baseline numbers here, this is Trump's net approval rating on immigration. It's gone up like a rocket. Compare now versus 8 years ago during Trump's first term. It is his top issue so far, and the reason it is his top issue is because take a look at the individual nuggets in here. Why are people approving of Trump on immigration, approve of these different immigration actions? Well, Trump's administration's program to deport those here illegally. Look at this, 54% approval. How about agents searching your hometown for those that they think are here illegally? Again, positive territory here, above 50% for Donald Trump. So it's not just on the broad issue of immigration where Trump is doing well, it's on the specifics. When you dive into the issues, Trump is above 50% and his actions are above 50%.
Now, what is really interesting is that this is an issue the Democrats used to win on. No more. And it seems the Dems are slow learners.
The Democrats don't have a clue on the issue of immigration. I mean, you could just take it here. Closer to trust more in immigration, Democrats versus Republicans. Got 3 different polls for you across the board. They all tell the same story. Republicans lead on the issue of immigration. You see it here, CBS +6. You see it here, CNN +6. You see it here, Ipsos, even bigger, +19. No matter what poll you look at, no matter which way you cut it, the American public is with the Republicans. The American public is with Donald Trump, and to a much greater extent than they were in term number 1. And it's not just on the broad issue of immigration, it's on the specifics as well, in which the American public is with Donald Trump and the Republicans. And that is why Donald Trump is eager to take on this fight.
The data there is pretty clear, and it's pretty devastating for the Democrats, and it's despite the media coverage. And the media coverage we're getting in this country is being quite appalling and misleading, but that's the state of play. Could these protests extend to other parts of the country? Could we be looking at BLM 2.0?
That's the question everybody's asking, and sadly, rightly or wrongly, a lot of people wonder whether these are 100% organic, or there are agitators in the mix, given they're losing on the issue politically. And I'm sure it's hurting the media, although I think Harry Enton is a secret Trump supporter, and those polling segments have become must-watch.
Well, he doesn't create the numbers. The numbers are the numbers.
And he's very honest. Yeah. He's almost a little bit too excited when he reports them. And that is showing you that it just doesn't make sense if everybody is approving even of the tactics, like go into my communities, go into the Home Depot, go into the schools, find them and get them out. Those were the numbers he was showing. It doesn't jive with why there's so many protests, unless it just is a function of the number of illegal immigrants in the country, and there are many of them, and if they band together and start to create mayhem, then maybe that was inevitable.
Well, California's response, other than ignoring the violence and generally not even protecting law enforcement from these lawless thugs, they now want to, and I think they have started suing the Trump administration. How's that going to work out? I mean, the judges in that state, we know how they lean, but really, is this going to end in anything other than just a waste of everybody's time?
Definitely a waste of time. That is their favorite tactic, using the judicial system to their advantage. If they do get something favorable on their side of the column, it's going to go up to the Supreme Court. That's a little bit tenuous, and it's not a healthy system if fundamental questions like, is the commander-in-chief the head of the executive branch, allowed to expel non-citizens who are in the country illegally. And if that is even going to be tested and hanging in the balance of 4 or 5 people in robes, justifying that, we have problems. But I do think ultimately the Supreme Court will rule favorably for this. This is within his purview as the chief executive of the country, and hopefully he'll have success with it.
Well, we can't have this situation continuing. You keep hearing talk about a constitutional crisis. This is the constitutional crisis. The court's being used to usurp the power of the commander-in-chief and the will of the people. We had an election. It was a landslide result. The president has a mandate and he's not being allowed to deliver on that mandate. And the Democrats have got to be careful with these tactics because it can come back to haunt them the other way as well.
Definitely. And this side is learning how to play by those rules. I think for so long they didn't. And so the left is very effective at these strategies. But Trump and his successors, whether it's J.D. Vance or whoever, are going to use that same playbook on them.
Absolutely. Now, Donald Trump had a bit of fun today. He had a diagnosis and some advice for Greta Thunberg, who is accusing Israel of kidnapping her.
She's a strange person. She's a young, angry person. I don't know if it's real anger. It's hard to believe, actually, but I saw what happened. She's certainly different. Anger management. I think she has to go to an anger management class. That's my primary recommendation for her.
Was she kidnapped by Israel, as she says? Was she kidnapped?
I find it. I think Israel has enough problems without kidnapping Greta Thunberg.
And secondly, are you going to
Is that what she said? She was kidnapped by Israel?
Yes, sir.
She needs anger management classes, kosher, and he questions whether that anger is genuine, but if it is genuine, he wants her to get some help.
That was Trump and his comedic timing at its finest. I feel like we're back in The Apprentice, but in real life. She is not a sympathetic figure. I think she's suffering from relevance deprivation syndrome, where her climate mandate has fizzled and she's trying to inject herself into whatever the issues of the day are, sailing into Gaza, being intercepted and then claiming she was kidnapped by Israel. And I think she's petitioning her country, Sweden, the Swedish government, to intervene, even though I think they're sending her back.
But they're sending her back. They're not even holding her. So I don't know what this intervention is going to do for her.
She sounds like somebody desperate for attention and fame and maybe anger management, as the president said.
Now, let's talk a little about Colombia. The leading conservative candidate for president, 39-year-old Senator Miguel Uribe Turbay, was shot 3 times, including twice in the head while he was addressing supporters at the weekend. Here's how it unfolded, and a warning. Viewers might find this distressing.
Segundo, salud mental. El principal problema en Colombia.
In the aftermath, the presidential hopeful was surrounded by supporters who put themselves in considerable danger to try to help him. Let's have a look. Turbay has survived emergency surgery and is in intensive care. He has been non-responsive thus far. His wife, Maria Claudia Tarazona, has asked the nation to pray for his survival, saying Miguel is currently fighting for his life. Let us ask God to guide the hands of the doctors who are treating him. A security guard has detained the alleged attacker, who is believed to be just 15 years old. He's in police custody. Kosha, we've seen this sort of violence too often in South America. You can argue it's happened in North America in recent times as well.
Indeed. Now, Latin America is a very dangerous place. I think it's 8% of the world's population and 1/3 of the homicides happen there. So that's just the baseline situation. But then you layer on top of that the political angle to this. And there's been quite a few. I was looking it up. A presidential candidate for Ecuador was shot and killed recently. A mayoral candidate from Mexico was shot as well a few years ago. Bolsonaro, the former president of Brazil, was stabbed, survived it, but stabbed in 2018. So this seems to be another part of the playbook with just as the political climate gets worse and worse and the stakes get higher, you do see that, whether it's the riots in LA or these kinds of assassinations. And I think we'll see more of them, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, and the fact that so many of these victims tend to be on the conservative side of politics has not escaped attention either. Kosha Gator, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Pleasure.
Welcome back. Joining me now is comedian and host of Primetime with Alex Stein on Blaze TV. Alex, we've often remarked about Donald Trump being the funniest president. We saw some of his work earlier with his diagnosis of Greta Thunberg. His comedic timing is impeccable and it appears to have rubbed off on the VP. Here is JD Vance with comedian Theo Von talking about the big, beautiful bill and the Bengals.
You think Trey Hendrickson will get signed?
That's the $1 million question, or I guess the $50 million question.
Are y'all going to subsidize that? Is that part of the big?
That's actually unknown. That's a big part of the big, beautiful bill. It's $30 million to the Bengals to help with salary cap space. I mean, look, so Hendrickson is...
He's worth it, dude.
Dude, he's a generational talent.
Alex is a rare politician, Vance. Just on Theo Von, he revealed in that interview with the VP that he's got Tim Walls coming on the program. Tampon Tim is going to be on his show. How do you think that's going to go?
Well, Tampon Tim, the football coach that knows nothing about football, that is going to be very entertaining. But I just want to say something, Rita, to your audience in Sky News. You know, I have been accused of being anti-LGBTQ in the past, and I want to say that that is absolutely impossible because I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, and being a Dallas Cowboys fan in America means that you cannot have any more gay pride than that. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't try to give the Bengals $30 million to help with the salary cap. I mean, they need it. They have a bunch of good players that they're not going to be able to afford very much longer. So I wouldn't be surprised if JD Vance put his finger on the scale to try to help out his home team.
Well, it happens that JD Vance was being interviewed there with Theo Von as Elon Musk and Donald Trump were having their massive feud on X. Of course, he was asked about it. It was happening as he was on his way to the interview. And this is his explanation at that early stage about why Elon had a meltdown.
Elon's new to politics, right? So his businesses are being attacked nonstop. They're literally like firebombing some of his cars. And by the way, we're looking into a lot of this stuff. I mean, some of that stuff we're looking into is an act of terrorism at the Department of Justice, because I think it is an act of terrorism. So I think part of it is this guy got into politics and has suffered a lot for it. But I mean, and I get the frustration there, and I get the frustration that, I mean, look, Congress, you got this spending bill. But the main purpose of the bill is not actually spending or cutting spending, though it does cut a lot of spending. The main purpose of the bill is to prevent the biggest tax increase. But I understand, like, it's a good bill. It's not a perfect bill. Like the process in D.C., if you're a business leader, you probably get frustrated with that process because it's more, you know, bureaucratic. It's more slow moving. Yeah. So I think there's just some frustrations there. But I really, man, I think it's a huge mistake for him to go after the president like that. And I think that if he and the president are in some blood feud, most importantly, it's going to be bad for the country. But I think it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be good for Elon either.
Alex, what's been the fallout? Will Elon ever be trusted again after that meltdown?
I do not think that Elon will be trusted again. I mean, you're hearing stories, too, of Elon assaulting cabinet members that had Secret Service, you know, detail with him at the time, and he's not getting in trouble. And, you know, there's been allegations that he was supposedly potentially on some sort of therapeutic ketamine at the time of these tweets. And listen, if you really look at Elon Musk, I like Elon Musk, but and honestly, I'm actually agree with him that there's probably a little too much bloat in this bill. But at the same time, Elon Musk called out Donald Trump, and I think that he needs to publicly apologize and try to hop back on the Trump train, because him beefing with Donald Trump is a proposition that I think will only be a hindrance to his success in the future for Elon to continue to fight with Donald Trump.
Oh, look, I think Elon very quickly realised his considerable mistake there. He's gone back and deleted some of those crazy tweets, and he was tweeting in a far more conciliatory tone. But you know what? If you're going to have a meltdown behind closed doors, do not put it on X. That is not very clever at all. Now, you've been up to mischief again, Alex. I know how much you enjoy Pride Month. You talked about that earlier. Here you are spreading the joy at a city council meeting.
I just want to say that this is my favorite month of the year. So I wrote a little song about this month and why it's so special to me. So if you guys want to sing along, you guys are welcome to sing along. It's okay to be gay. It's the month after May. Do it for the human race. This square month of getting in your face.
That's enough. That's enough, Alex. I don't know what to say. Is the tune going to be out on iTunes? What were you thinking there? Some of those lyrics, we can't even play it at this time of night.
No, we can't. But Rita, there was no lies detected whatsoever this whole entire month. Every corporation decides to put their pride flag right in our face. And listen, I'm not anti-gay. I love my gay brothers and sisters, but I'm kind of sick of these companies virtue signaling for 1 month of the year. It's like, give me a break. You know, we should have a support for everybody year round. And, you know, I had to go up there and do a little primetime Alex Stein. And I will say this, though, Rita, you called it. We're having a better version, a higher, much higher quality version of this song coming out this week. It should be out, I think, within 24 hours of this interview tonight.
Oh, wonderful. Maybe you could put it with a bonus track, the one you wrote about AOC. What was that one called? Big Booty Latinas, I think. Again, another banger from you. Now, before you go, those crazy LA riots have spread to Texas, the great state of Texas. Well, they're not riots there yet. They're just a protest. A few dozen confused souls have showed up in Austin, which is barely Texas anyway these days. But they refused to explain their position when Owen Schroyer showed up.
I would just think if you're out here for a cause, you'd be able to talk about it, and none of you can.
Why don't you just wait?
None of you can.
Why don't you just wait? All right, that's what we're all here for.
I've been
just shut up like everybody else and chill the out. All right?
Okay.
You're agitating everyone.
I'm asking a basic question.
Shut up.
Do you believe
Leave it
in free
alone.
speech?
Yes, I do. But there's a time and a place. Read the room,
It's called
bro.
the United States of America anytime I want.
Read the room, Alex. What do you think about these protests and are they going to take hold in Texas?
Well, I think Texas is not going to be as bad as LA, and great job of Owen Schroyer going into the Lion's Den and talking to the protesters. But this is the problem, though, real quick, Rita, is that these protesters, the American ones, now we have our own military potentially fighting against American citizens. That's bad. And the other thing is the illegal immigrants, they don't even want to be legal immigrants because they want to be able to make money, send it back home, and not pay taxes. So these people that are fighting against Americans don't even want to actually be American. That's the big problem.
Well, they're flying the flag of another country, so that's a pretty good sign of where they want to be. Alex Stein, thank you for your time.